Morning all, welcome. The question was, are you confident enough that you're all going to be here this morning at 3 minutes to? I said to Stella, it looks like it's just the two of us, but I'm glad that you all made it in, and looking forward to a great chat this morning. So Lee, would you like to take it away?
Well, morning everyone. So we're following on from this conversation around confidence. We've looked at what builds our confidence, and today the conversation is around what difference does it make, and how have you seen that as you've built confidence in your life, or as you've experienced being more confident, what impact has that had in what you do and in the results that you get? And I've realized that a steady growth in confidence over my life has really made a difference more and more and more. And I've definitely met more people, had more opportunities, and generally felt better about myself as confidence has grown. I want to, when I thought about it though, I think it all it could be summed up, or maybe the very first step that I remember. So there were things that I was confident about at school. I was confident in my abilities, but in myself, I felt like I lacked confidence. And I have an amazing sister that I love absolutely. So I've got 3 sisters, but the sister who's just younger than me, there's only 14 months difference between us. And she is extraordinarily beautiful and has a very outgoing, vivacious personality. She is the party, and she... the party has not arrived until Cheryl has arrived. And I really felt, even though I was the oldest, I felt like I was sort of under her shadow for a long time, until I made the startling discovery, or worked through, that I am beautiful. I needed to say those words to myself, and I needed to believe them for myself. Not that wasn't that I needed to say, oh, I need to have lots of boyfriends or anything. That wasn't the point. The point was that I felt I was ugly. I thought that I was fat. I thought that I was, and all of those things affected my confidence and my belief in myself. When I literally sat up or looked in the mirror and said, Lee, you are beautiful, it triggered something in my level of confidence, and I started to be seen. So that was the impact that it had in my life, is that thinking that I was being ignored, or thinking that nobody noticed me, suddenly I was being noticed. And I'm simple things like somebody would come up and greet me, or somebody would come and ask me, what do I want? Or if I was standing in a queue, I would often find I wouldn't be noticed. There would be the person behind me would be asked if they could be served. And I'd say, well, I'm standing right here. So it was those things that I started to see a difference, that people were actually paying attention to me, and it was within me. There was something in me that had changed, that created this trigger effect, that I had a place in the world, and that place was starting to be recognized. And that just then, I think, just grew and grew and grew, and will continue to grow. I don't see that this ripple effect is going to end. So that's just my sort of very personal story of how confidence has made a difference in my life. And would love to hear from you. What impact has confidence made in your lives?
Great, thanks, Lee. I'm really worried now because when Trevor and I sent Lee photographs for our profile pictures on our website, she came back and said they're ugly. So, you know, we've got a long way to go, Trevor. So we're gonna have to catch up with that one. So let's pop across to Edward first this morning. So, Edward, are you beautiful and confident and?
Yeah, it's interesting listening to Trevor yesterday. When I was young, my father used to always put me down and belittle me. I think it was his way of making himself feel good. And unlike Trevor, I wasn't very good at getting up and, coping with it. And it really affected me. And it wasn't until I met a really beautiful woman that I wanted to impress her father, because he was a very successful businessman. So I trained as a chartered accountant. And once I qualified, I was very confident at being an accountant, but I wasn't very confident in life. And then I met, it's strange how women have this effect on me. I met this woman who was in the military, and she came from Romania originally. And she wanted me to go to Romania and help her to plan a multi-day race in the mountains there. And she said to me, she said, Edward, get to Budapest and text me. Well, Budapest is in Hungary, not Romania, which was a bit odd. And until that point, I'd always had to plan everything precisely, book hotels, book flights, etc. But Eva just said, get to Budapest and text me. And that was the plan for 10 days. And that scared the hell out of me, but Eva scared me more. So I did it. And we had a wonderful 10 days we met in Budapest. She took me to her sister's. Then we drove to Romania. We spent 10 days in the mountains living together 24/7. Sometimes we'd find somewhere to stay. Sometimes we'd just have to kip in her car. And it taught me that I could actually cope without order. And then the other thing that changed my life a bit later was I did a fundraiser for a charity. And really, the challenge was my own personal challenge, but people liked me to raise money for charity, so I did it. And when I went to hand over the cash, because I collected cash and online, the fundraiser said, oh, you should really volunteer for us, Edward. And it was a children's charity that took disadvantaged children on adventure breaks. He said, you'd be a great role model. And the thought of living 24/7 with a bunch of teenagers scared the crap out of me. But Mick was very persuasive. So I went and volunteered. And I loved it. And the organizer said, Edward, you are really, really good at getting the more timid ones to engage and push themselves and push the boundaries. She said, other people went put off, but you have a sort of knack of nurturing them and getting them to challenge their boundaries. And I've now volunteered them for a lot. And actually, last summer, I helped run a summer holiday campaign for children in Plymouth who are at risk of going hungry during the summer holidays. They were very challenging, but I enjoyed it. So I think the thing about the confidence thing, I think it just needs sometimes a push from someone else. And then when you have it, you can help other people. And I love, and the one thing I really hate about lockdown is we've had to cancel all the activities for the children. And those children are children that get abused, children that have pretty crap lives. So they're locked up with their abusers at the moment. But yeah, and I think it is that thing of you need to be pushed and then challenged and rise to those challenges. And then you can think, well, do you know what? I mean, I gave a talk one time to 300 chartered accountants. Before that would terrify me, but I just completed Comrades. And I thought, well, if I can run Comrades, I can do anything. And standing up in a bunch of 300 chartered accountants, most of whom couldn't even run out of the room, was just brilliant. So I think, yeah, it's those challenges and overcoming those challenges and then drawing on them. Sorry, I've gone on a bit, but...
No, I think it's great. It's great. Thanks, Edward. Yeah, I'm not sure that Comrades qualifies you for confidence. I thought it qualified you for insanity, but... you know.
It depends on your outlook, doesn't it? I think insanity is not running Comrades.
No, great, thank you. Yeah, I think that's You know, that's great. All right, Stella, let's come across to you.
Okay, so this is also a personal story that I want to share with you. Something that stole my confidence when I was at school. So I must have been in standard 5 or so, and I really liked this one boy. And the one day he made a remark about my nose, because I've got a fairly I got my grandmother Stella's nose. And I never realized it until he made the remark, and that was just devastating to me. So my grandma, I'm the only one in the family that got my grandma, maybe because I got her names, I got her nose as well. And she always told me that my grandfather, he loved her nose. He said that was one of the things that attracted him to her. So I was very conscious of my nose. I was always in school, from the front, it's not too bad, but someone must, especially a boy, mustn't see me from the side because I feel so conscious about my big nose. And it was so bad that my parents actually, when we moved from KZN to Joburg in my matric year, they said, okay, they're going to take me to have plastic surgery on my nose. So we went to see a plastic surgeon, and he said, no, the problem is I must first fix my teeth. And once my teeth is fixed up, then if I'm still unhappy about my nose, because my teeth made my nose look bigger, then I can come for surgery. So now you must know, in matric, I went to a new school with this big nose with these braces on my teeth, but anyway. And then in my first year at varsity, I met my ex-husband. And funny enough, since the day I met him, I was never conscious of him seeing me from the side, you know. And he said, no, my nose doesn't worry him. So more than 50 odd years later, I still got the same nose, and I've come to accept it, you know. It's one of those things. If somebody doesn't like my nose, it's their problem. Yeah. So, but it took me a very long time to overcome that. Yeah, that's my story about confidence.
Right, thanks, Stella. So, Jasper, how's your nose?
I feel like we what is it? A confidence anonymous. I am beautiful. I have lots of girlfriends. And I like my nose and stuff like that. Now I think the question is probably because all of us, just to get to this forum and share with each other, means you already have developed the necessary confidence to cope with life. But if you almost have to look back, and I think depending on the forum of the day, I will probably pick a different story. But I think professionally, what made me feel I'm okay, I can do it, but I didn't feel it at that time, was when I went and opened up a New Life in Uganda. And it wasn't a planned event. I was actually going there, communicating the fact that, listen, I'll come and visit you and tell you about the business, but we're not yet ready to open up. And I had a whole long list of conditions to be complied with before we can come and open up. They almost had me there in a, well, they said nothing, but the first night that I was going to meet the people, they dumped it on me to say, listen, there's a bunch of really high flyers here, and you can't tell them you're not opening up. We told them we are opening up. So I had literally a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, to say, how do I get myself out of this thing? So I what do you call it, honest, and I tell them this is the problem. This is how the company look at it, but we can do it in the following way. And I just sketched the vision. So I spent the next week, I was only there for a week. During the day, I was driving all over the show in Kampala, meeting people that I've never met before, setting up a company, setting up an export-import session, industry that I knew nothing about, but I had people who guided me through the process. In one of my trips, I was sitting in a military car because it was just shortly after the days of Idi Amin, and with a soldier with a rifle next to me and that kind of things, and you play all these scenarios of the Idi Amin time that, or the news that we saw. But so during the day I was working that, and at night I was just crying before the Lord for help. What do I do next? And it ended up to be the start of the business in Uganda. And now, even 20, 30 years later, the people have built strong businesses. But I think that experience of knowing nothing about an industry going in, and a week later, you've got the flesh of the industry, and you fix the problems as they come. And so we had some severe problems with stock getting lost, and 3 months later found it in another warehouse and stuff like that. So I think it's these things that if you told me up front, I would not have volunteered for it. But sometimes life just takes you and put you in a situation where the only survival is going through this thing and come out surviving on the other end. So yeah, I want to compliment everybody sitting here in front of us in this room today, because I know you have a similar story of how life just pushed you out of your comfort zone, and the only way out is to survive the current trip. And I think we're almost in a similar way. And I'm excited to see what will come out of this so-called disaster that someone equated to a world war that could last for 5 years. But the fact is, people came out of it and built a tremendously strong economies and businesses. So I want to be on the right side of that equation coming out of this thing. So thanks.
Great, thanks, Jasper. So let's get across to Cecile. I'm confident that she's got a good story for us. Cecile, are you there?
Oh, yeah, but I'm in and out because the bloody phone doesn't stop ringing. There's Telkom on my case. So let me quickly try. I think I've been fairly confident in my life. Being a twin, you've always got a sidekick, always there with you. So it's double trouble. Always, people don't know the power of being a twin, but it's lovely. But I was just thinking of the time that I wasn't confident with. We love dancing, but in the December holidays we used to go to Palm Springs, and then the people used to have little hall dancing. So we were 15, so we so wanted to dance, but we didn't know how to dance like the other people danced, because we came from the platteland and everyone knew how to dance in the cities. So we sat there and you were like a wallflower trying to hide behind the couch, but you so want to dance. And then at about 11 o'clock that one night, the guys saw us and started dancing with us, and whew, it's like scary. But once we started dancing, we never stopped dancing. But I think in my own person, I've always been confident, and I didn't realize why. But my husband always says, you twins, he always calls us you twins think that you can just smile your way out of everything. You just have a broad smile, you smile, and everything just comes right for you. So since he's always said that, I kind of use that as well. Use it as a weapon. Why not use the weapons that you have? So yeah, so I love listening to all your stories. As the bloody phone just stops ringing in between Telkom's on my case. So I'll keep on listening. Lekker to hear all your stories. Oh, Edward, what year were you in matric? Because my husband was the head boy at CBC in 1981. So I wanted to ask him, and I didn't know what year you were in matric. But anyway, carry on with your stories. I love your stories.
Thanks, Cecile. I can't imagine anything more terrifying than Cecile and her sister in a room together. You know, as a man, I mean, I think, destroy any male's confidence in an instant. You two, I'm sure. Just too much energy and too much dynamism there. Right. Let's get across to Solomon. Solomon.
Hello, how's it? How's it? I came in a bit late, but yeah, in terms of confidence, I think the one particular story that I'm remembering is when I was in Cape Technicon and I was starting a choir and all that, and then we started to do some concerts, inviting people, and started getting feedback on how we've done and all that. And then one day I was called to come and lead a praise and worship in at the Baxter Theatre. And it's a very big auditorium. So yeah, it was very good at the end of that evening to just see how everything went, and just my confidence started growing and growing and growing. So yeah, I think confidence is something that is growing every day in every single thing a person does. Yeah, thanks.
Right, thanks, Solomon. Umpo, let's get across to you and your thoughts on confidence. Umpo, are you with us? Okay, seems like we might not have Umpo with us at the moment. We'll get back to her. So Nazipa, let's get across to you.
Can I go quickly say something? Just one thing, talking about someone dancing. When years later, I started doing Latin American and ballroom dancing about 20 years ago, and I was like, I don't know, a beginner, and I had an instructor, and then I went to a radiology conference in Birmingham, and my instructor was living in London at that time. But when I was at the radiology conference in Birmingham, actually a cardiology conference in Birmingham, the final night was a ball in the Birmingham, in the ICC, which is massive, talking about Baxter Theatre, which is a massive, massive theatre. I used to do the gladiators in that big hall. So there were thousands of cardiologists, smart cardiologists and their wives. And just before that, I phoned on my first ballroom instructor, and I said to him, I need a partner for this ball. And he said, okay, you'll drive from London to Birmingham to come to the ball. So on the day, he arrived, on that night he arrived there. And in this big hall, it was a orchestra, a full-blown orchestra, and all these smart people from all over the world, cardiologists from all over the world. And we danced during the night, and then at one specific time, the band guy stopped, the MC stopped it, and he said, okay, we're now going to play a tango. And that will now separate the sheep from the goats. And so Arne had already led me onto the dance floor, and there we were. And literally, we were probably 5 couples that danced a tango on that big ballroom floor. But I was petrified because I'd never danced a tango with Arne before. I'd danced all kinds of other dances with him, but never a tango. My word, we danced this tango like Strictly Come Dancing finals. It felt like that to me. And since then, I have never, ever, ever been not confident in dancing. Even my children, I had a dance school, and even my children at the age of 10 would get onto the dance floor, proper ballroom and Latin American dance floor with me, my son, and dance in front of a lot of people. So that was just my funny story when someone said, Solomon said about the Baxter Theatre. Sorry, guys.
Thanks, Cecile. All right, Nazifa, let's get across to you.
Thanks. Morning, everyone. I think for me, when I recall confidence, I think I recall it on probably the first time I ever spoke publicly. And it was, I'd just written my book at that time, which had a lot to do with the young people, the youth. And there was a conference, this huge one-week conference that was happening in Durban at the ICC. It was called the Future Leaders Conference or something to that effect, but it had a lot to do with kids. And I really felt that this book that I had written had to be there. So I approached the organizers and I said to them, look, I've got this book and I want to share it with the students that are there. But I had never, ever, I don't even know what I had in mind, but it wasn't to stand up and speak in front of thousands of students. But the guy literally said, oh, great, we actually have a slot. Tomorrow, can you come in and present what you think the children must know? And then reality struck that, oh my word, I must now stand in front of all these people and deliver this speech. But it probably was a case of going back, but at the same time, I had researched the stuff. I knew about the stuff, but still my legs were shaking. I remember when they called my name, it felt like my heart was popping out. And I had to stand up and go up to the stage and speak for the first time to thousands of people. But the more I spoke about it, the more I got into the rhythm, the more relaxed I started feeling. And from then on, the stage and sharing on stage then became my best friend. But really, for me, confidence comes from practicing over and over. Yeah, thanks.
Great, thanks, Nazipa. I empathize with those feelings completely. I hate, not like hate, I say I've never been good in standing up in front of people, and I've had to work very hard at it. So I understand exactly where you're coming from there. Donovan, let's get across to you. Donovan, are you with us? Not sure if Donovan is hearing us or seem to be struggling a little bit with folk this morning. So let's try Sarah. Sarah, are you with us? Oh, we lost Sarah as our...
Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, thank you. Good morning, Ivan. Good morning, everybody. It's been a long time. So it's great to be back. I was working on a project that I had to submit yesterday. So at least this morning I have some time to connect. Yes, Lee, I am beautiful, confident, and courageous. I had to learn to say that and embrace it and finally believe it. You know, when Edward was speaking, he said he always felt confident as a chartered accountant, but not when it came to him in life. For me, it was the other way around. I think growing up, I was confident in myself as a person because of the way I was raised. I mean, I grew up in a loving home, had a father who adored us, and that affirmation has really been the foundation of my confidence just as a person. I've not always been confident in my professional space. You know, I'm sure as most people know, when you face something that you haven't done before, when you feel inadequate about a task, then your confidence really goes down. Nozipo said something. She said that, you know, with more practice, confidence comes. But how I've overcome the professional space and you know, just grown confidence in my professional space is allowing myself to be able to tackle those very things that I felt I couldn't do. I mean, just like this project that I had to deliver yesterday, I had to do a decanting strategy. I didn't even know there was something called a decanting strategy until I was approached 3 weeks ago to do it. And thankfully, you know, with some of the people I've met along the way, Jasper Gig being one of them, he loves to throw me in the deep end. And that's good because I've learned that when I embrace that, then my confidence grows, you know. My confidence have grown from people that have supported me positively. My confidence has also grown from people that do not support me because I am a defiant girl. If you want me to prove to you that I can do something, tell me I can't do it, or undermine me in thinking that I can't do it, then that negative energy actually becomes positive for me because then I will throw myself in there just to spit on your face and to build the confidence. So yeah, thanks, Ivan.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I can't imagine you ever being unconfident. So, great. Right, Impa, are you with us?
Morning, Ivan. Yes. Did you? So, is that the new logo? What's going on there, Ivan? Where are the bright and interesting, colorful people? What is that? What are those icons at the back? What does it say there? Can you show me that? Yeah, I've been trying to see. Yeah,
they say attitude, initiative, inspiration, leadership, entrepreneurship, and business mastery, which is the one behind my back. So those are the 6 different module levels that are in Wisdoms. Lee Lee and her daughter have just done a complete revamp and rebranding of our website and everything. So I thought I'd put that up for us this morning.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, so confidence, interesting one. So my story is kind of like in reverse, because I've been kind of like confident all my life, raised by very confident people, my dad, my mom was a model, you know, everybody around me was kind of tripping on acid on themselves. And life was pretty much easy, you know, kind of got what I wanted. You know, I was a popular kid at school, got to university, Noz and I were the cool hot chicks. So, but late 20s, early 30s, that's where the real challenges came. You know, you no longer have the advantages of youth and beauty and sexiness and all of that. That's where my confidence issues started coming to say, you know, am I really who I think I am? So my 30s, then I went through a series of really trying to compete, entering all these competitions, and like it was really important for me to win. And I achieved that, but I still had doubt. You know, believing that, you know, who I am, who I really think I am, or do I just get away with things because just me? So it's been a very long journey, you know, until I started really listening to what people were saying about me, and the things that they were saying have made a difference in their lives with what I do, and stuff like that. So I think it's only up until 5 years ago that I really started believing that I am who I think I am. You know, purely because my youth, everything was really easy, and I really believed that I was a fluke. That's my story.
Right, thanks, Mpho. Yeah, interesting. Mine's almost the exact reverse of yours. So didn't have the well, I had the upbringing, but not the confidence at school and the environment and the friends. So I came the opposite route completely to you on that one. So it's interesting. Right, Jeffrey, let's come across to you.
Yeah, morning everyone. Yeah, confidence. I think, or certainly with myself, confidence, or the lack of, and then having it, is something that I've pretty much had most of my life. And I think that confidence for me is something that you actually stretch every day. You're confident and you're unconfident. Right now, for example, I've literally got here in front of me a list of people at a webinar that I did with the Capital City Business Chamber. So I'm literally then having to pick up this list of people that we were at the webinar, and then you're phoning somebody that you've never phoned in your life, you've never spoken to. And you've now got to try and, you know, create some kind of rapport with this person and to see if there's any synergies. And that is something that is actually quite difficult to do. I'm pretty good at doing it face to face with people. Well, I feel that I am. But yeah, complete cold phone calling. That is quite difficult. So your confidence is up and it's down, and then you get somebody that tells you to bugger off. Yeah, I do always have empathy for telemarketers, even though we all hate them. But can you imagine having to do this every single day and have to perform and get paid for it? So yeah, so I think confidence is a thing which happens. You don't arrive there. It's something that you have to work with all the time. So yeah, that's my little story.
Great, thanks, Jeffrey. Yeah, and I empathize with that as well. When I started my first business, I had to do a lot of cold calling, and it was completely against my natural grain and natural abilities. And someone once said to me, well, you know, what you've got to do is you've actually got to, first of all, you've got to get dressed up. So I'm looking at Donovan's picture with his jacket and his tie on. So I used to get dressed up in my office every morning with my jacket and my tie on. And then you've got to stand up while you're making the phone calls, because you know, it changes your posture and changes your attitude. And it was amazing. I got appointments that even surprised me. And even when I got to those appointments, some of the people would say, well, I don't know why I gave you the appointment. So it's an interesting how, you know, that sort of act as if someone I think spoke about yesterday sometimes actually does help. I never particularly got over that challenge of making cold calls, but it was interesting how some of those little things actually helped. Right, we seem to be losing Donovan in and out. So I think it's just over to Trevor to wrap up.
Yep, interesting discussion. Confidence. I don't think I've ever lacked in it, although I've been a sensitive little boy. And just before I get too deep, Edward, you obviously didn't see the same movie I saw about the young guys that went tripping to Budapest and got attracted by beautiful ladies in Budapest into one of these old buildings. I won't tell you how many slices they cut them up in, because that'll spoil the whole story for you. So you've got courage, my friend. So what is confidence? Man, if I look back, I think confidence is probably chutzpah. And I think it's an acknowledgement of fear. And once you acknowledge fear, it takes courage to overcome that. That overcoming of that, you get feedback, positive or negative, and that helps you to deal confidently in the future. For instance, the type of feedback that Jasper gives me in the gym, I'm confident that I don't want any more of his gym training feedback at all. So you learn how to deal with it. And I think if you have the confidence to go out there with a little bit of chutzpah and try things, you'll get positive and negative feedback, and you tend to go down the route where you get the best possible feedback that makes you feel good. And you start avoiding those things where you don't feel good. It's like the little baby, 2 odd years old, goes and touches something hot, burns the fingers, won't do it again. But prior to that, you would have told them 5, 10 times, don't touch that, don't touch that. People have to experience it so they can actually build up the confidence. I'm definitely not going to touch that thing again.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, as I said, it looks like Donovan's in and out, so I think we're going to get him this morning. So Lee, I think it's just over you to wrap up and tell us what's up for Monday.
I was going to pounce on Kevin, but he's not here, so he's avoided the the look. But we will ask Kevin to tell his story next week. But I think for Monday, what be interesting is this idea that Jeffrey's raised. Sarah spoke about it as well. Is that it's something that confidence is something, and to use Trevor's word, chutzpah, you know, there's something that you need within yourself to try new things, to do something you've never done before. And I think many of our stories revolved around that. So what is it that you are seeing right now? Because we're wanting to make this relevant. We're wanting to make this, ensure that the discussions and the stories we're telling are equipping us and ensuring that we have it within us to make a difference in our lives right now, and in the communities in which we live. So as we gain confidence and as we try new things, we're going to build new confidence. So what is it that is in front of you right now? What new thing that you've never done before, or new thing that you're contemplating, or new thing that you would like to do? What is it that you're facing right now? What is that new thing? That is really my question, is what new thing is in front of you right now that's going to need confidence for you to be able to do it and make it happen? And we'd love to hear that. So if you can share on Monday about the new things that are in front of you and the amazing confidence you're going to have to make it happen.
Great, thanks, Lee. Yeah, so we've got a new weekend ahead of us. I'm confident that you'll make a great time of your weekend, and have a great one, folks. And look forward to seeing you on Monday morning. Go well.
Thank you.
Edward,